It it is absurd to blame Biden for gas prices currently, and I'm gonna argue this point just as best as I can, but, in a short period of time. The thing is the Keystone XL pipeline that the Republicans are blaming for gas prices was not complete, nor was it anywhere near completion. It would not be complete anytime this year if it had not been canceled. So in order for that pipeline to be impacting prices today, you'd have to be able to reasonably expect that the pipeline would be online now if it had not have been canceled. But there is no good reason to expect that it would have been online now. A pipeline that wouldn't have been either way in either world, transporting gas could not possibly have anything to do with the price of gas today. You can rule that out. You know that truth can't be. That must necessarily be false. By process of elimination. And I would argue that if you want to ultimately look for somebody that would be responsible for the price of gas, I would blame OPEC for trying to squeeze America. I mean, OPEC, ultimately speaking, they've been our enemies for the longest time. And I'm not just talking OPEC, I'm talking OPEC Plus. They're all of our foreign enemies and even our quote unquote ally of Saudi Arabia is the ally from hell. So, you know, um, yeah, it's the attempt to squeeze the United States by our adversaries in the Middle East and in Russia and overseas, ultimately speaking, who are trying to put the squeeze to the U.S. market, and they know that oil is basically what keeps America running. Ultimately, at the current stage of things, I mean, we are starting to see some action in electric vehicles, but it's just not, the scale of it is just not anywhere near the same as the amount of people still running the internal combustion engine. So it very much so still is a world where oil is king of transportation. And I'm just conceding that ultimately, because it's an obvious truth of the present reality. Um, so oil is dominant currently, but they don't like blame OPEC, and at least Biden is opening the strategic reserves. I mean, if you want, like, I'm upset, that Biden's being blamed for this, and the truth of the matter is that if I came on here and and Trump was still president and I were blaming him for gas prices, that would also be absurd. Like, it doesn't matter ultimately who's in the White House because the oil market is really complex. It's not, it's a very complex market, but like they export globally basically, and that pipeline was not going to be complete either way ultimately. So trying to pin this one on Biden is just something that people that have I guess partisan loyalties are trying to do in the comment section just because of the fact that they're stacked for the Republicans and are determined to, take down a Democrat, even if it's with, incredibly misleading information and bad faith attacks. Like if you're criticizing Biden for gas prices, you're doing it in bad faith. And I think most of the people doing it, like they ultimately know. They know better. They know that the president isn't responsible, but they're going to do it anyways because the fact of the matter is that they're opportunist. I mean, there's a bunch of people on social media who are stacked, for the Republicans, and they're going to do what they can for their own party because it's a game. It's become a politics has ultimately become like two football teams basically competing against each other. It's really exhausting ultimately. But yeah, that's just my frustration for the day. Uh, Peace out.